What's going on, everyone? How's things been going? What's going on, everyone? It's been a while since I've done a book collection video, so I'm gonna do one today. And I'm gonna start off telling you, well, I'm gonna show you the book I'm reading now, which is Elizabeth Keckley's memoir, her autobiography. She's best known for being the dressmaker and confidant of Mary Todd Lincoln. She lived in the White House during the Lincoln administration, from 1861 to 1865. She was a slave, though, in Hillsborough, North Carolina in the 1830s. So this is basically this discusses her life. She lived in Virginia, then ended up being brought to Hillsborough. She lived in the Burroughs house. I've done some videos on that. And anyway, so this pretty much details, she wrote this, obviously. As I said, it's her memoir, so it is written by her. 1868 she wrote this. She lived to be pretty old. She lived into the early 1900s, I think 1907. So, but the name of this is Behind the Scenes, 30 Years a Slave and 4 Years in the White House. And even after Lincoln's assassination, she remained close with Mary Todd Lincoln and kind of comforted her during that time, during that hardship. So I'm about halfway through it, but it's a short one. It's only 100 pages, but I bought another first edition Mark Twain. This is Sketches, New and Old, which is illustrated. So, wanted to show you that. There's the side of it. And it's a 1893. The American Publishing Company. And wanted to show you that. I found this. This is pretty cool. This is I've always been a big Smashing Pumpkins fan. I grew up in the '90s, and loved everything Billy Corrigan did. This is Billy Corrigan's poetry book, and that's some neat artwork on it. It's called Blinking with Fist. He was an awesome songwriter, so he's an awesome poet as well. This is Kurt Vonnegut's Jailbird. Now, this is pretty much about the Watergate scandal and with the whole Richard Nixon and all that, with everything that went on in that whole scandal. So this is Jimi Hendrix, The Lost Writings, Cherokee Mist, just basically songs that never made it to his mainstream albums or any of, so some of his poetry and writing and songs and whatnot. Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail. I know a lot of you that are Hunter S. Thompson fans are aware of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Well, this is more or less about him covering the Nixon-McGovern election, and he's pretty much, of course, he was an advocate for George McGovern. He was very anti Richard Nixon, and so this was about his dislike for Richard Nixon and all the places he traveled, and just pretty much him covering that election and that campaign, the George McGovern's campaign. And of course, that election ended up being a landslide, though. I think McGovern won one state in the Electoral College. So this is another Chuck Palahniuk book I bought called Tell All. I haven't read it yet, but I intend to. I've read 3 of his. I've read Fight Club, Choke, and Haunted. I found a Bible from 1823. It's sort of It's not in the best condition, but you know, for 1823, it's not horrible. It could use some. It could use a little reconstruction possibly down the road. I don't know if it'd be worth it though, but it's still cool to have, you know, and look, be able to read. Some of these I shared with you last time, but I'm sorry, but I may do it again, but I'm sorry. Here's Edgar Allan Poe's Raven. This isn't a first edition, but it's this is the Raven edition. Pretty cool with the statue with the raven on top. This is from the early 1900s, so still old nonetheless. This is a cool book. This is good. A lot of good presidential history. National Geographic did this. Of course, Barack Obama was president when this book came out. But anyway, it tells it has a brief biography of every president, who the vice president was, who the first lady was for each president, what political party they were with. Of course, on the front, you got George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Roosevelt, and JFK. So, and of course, Barack Obama's the main picture on it, because I think it came out in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. So, really, a lot of good history, though. You know, just kind of for example, it gives you kind of break. Like here's Rutherford B. Hayes. Kind of gives you a little brief summary of their age when they were elected. You know, who they ran against too, and all that good stuff. I have Gavin McInnes's book, How to Piss in Public. That was a fun read. I know Gavin McInnes is he's one of those guys, either you like him or you don't. He's very controversial. I also have the Kennedy assassination. This was more or less about LBJ, Lyndon Johnson, running the country and what he went through after the JFK assassination, and pretty much all the changes that went through because of the presidential switch, you know. So that was a really interesting read. I love political history, so I'm always reading books such as that. A lot of books. I love reading books on Abraham Lincoln, and this is my buddy Bryce's mother's book, Deborah Kaufman's book. This is called The Next Moment. This is her poetry book, and this is basically, she's a good poet. Kind of reminds me, kind of Jack Kerouac's poetry a bit. Really, really good. She also is a playwright. This is a play I went to in Raleigh, downtown Raleigh, called Illuminated Dresses. And it was a story. It was basically women doing monologues, like it'd be dresses for example, from the early 1900s, and they would make up a monologue and a story about, you know, what a certain woman what certain ladies went through at different times, and what the dresses, what their clothes would have looked like during that period and time, and it was good. I thought I didn't know what to expect, but I was really glad I went. So really cool. This is Stephen King's 11/22/63. Now this is obviously a fictional Stephen King book about some guy that goes back in time to try to stop the JFK assassination. So, but this is there's some more some kind of newspaper copies on the book, so kind of neat. I have a lot of graphic novels as well. I have Batman the Killing Joke. This is actually one of the inspirations for the Joker, Todd Phillips' Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Even though they didn't directly base it on any comic book, they kind of went their own way. But Not long ago, I read Manson, The Life and Times of Charles Manson. Pretty much, it chronicles his life from childhood to the Sharon Tate and La Bianca murders, and it pretty much is the same thing. It's all kind of based on Bugliosi's view and his narrative. The whole. Give me 1 second.
Tarantino, The Hateful Eight is done, and it's very good. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. But anyway, but it's all based on his narrative. The whole, everything they sold in the court. I don't know if I buy all that. That they just, went there to just butcher these people just for no reason, other than, just to be sadistic. I don't know. I want to make sure it's... I recently read The Revenant, which became the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy. Anyway, if you were a fan of the film, it's worth reading. It just of course, books always have a lot more detail. You can't fit everything into a 2-hour movie, or 2.5 hours, whatever, This book is called Closing. It's about the closing of White's Furniture in Mebane, North Carolina. Really good book. It's just the setup, the life and death of an American factory, which, there's abandoned factories all over, abandoned mills all over the United States, so we know that tale. One of the cool things is Martin Scorsese is one of the critics on the book, as well as other notable people. Kind of cool that Martin Scorsese read a book on my town. So, if there's an untold story in America today, this is it. This sad, engrossing, and utterly unique book explores the precise moment of a factory closing with such eloquence and clarity of purpose that it feels like a great novel. So, if you ever get a chance, this is called Closing. So, it's got pictures of some of the people that worked, in the factory, and, and it just, yeah. So, a lot of cool stuff in there. Actually, some of the people in there I know. Oh, another cool one. The Film Junkie's Guide to North Carolina. This is pretty much about any TV show or movie that's been filmed in North Carolina. Of course, North Carolina is one of the leading states in production and film production. I think we're, of course, California, New York, and then I think it's North Carolina and Florida. So that's like the 4 top states but all kinds of cool stuff's in that. Just, if you ever want to check that out, if you're into film like I am, I know you'll enjoy it. There was something else I wanted to share with you. I got a first edition of William Burroughs' The Ticket That Exploded. I was glad to get this. I love all the beatnik writers, Jack Kerouac, Burroughs. I'm a big Charles Bukowski fan. I own not all, but most of his books. So, and of course I have On the Road, But anyway, I thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully I'll do another book collection video for you in the near future. So, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.